I now finished Hogwarts Legacy's main story and did a ton of side content thanks to an early PS5 code from Warner, and wow, this game is so much more than I imagined. Like, your fantasy immediately runs wild when you hear that there's an open world Harry Potter game coming, but in the back of my mind I was always hesitant. The movie-based games were fine and nothing too crazy, and the previous game the developer of Hogwarts Legacy worked on was Cars 3, with Disney Infinity before that. So it's extra special that they delivered on such a big project. I think with Hogwarts Legacy we can rank Avalanche Software among some of the best single player studios in the business. It's one of the best open worlds that I ever experienced, a place that will continuously surprise you from moment 1, but also 10, 20, 30 hours later. Every mission, big or small, feels carefully handcrafted. So you're always doing something slightly different and intriguing. I can't get enough the combat that feels really refreshing and has some nice hidden features that are great to exploit. The cosmetic system is great as well, it lets you switch out your look at any time with a ton of different items to choose from. And also cool is that you can always toggle the hoods on and off for your robes. Thought that was really cool, and I have to mention the music. This is one of the best gaming scores ever. My point is that I would recommend this game to every open world gaming fan, even if you never consumed a Harry Potter product in your life. So obviously, if you always wanted to exist in the wizarding world, it doesn't get much better than this. Yes, I am super positive about the game, I really love it, but there are also some issues that I want to mention and some systems that I did not really like. So a ton to go over in this spoiler-free review. Of course, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. I will try my best to answer them. A like on the video would really support me, and let's go. I really like the fact that this game takes place in the late 1800s, around 100 years before Harry Potter went to Hogwarts for the first time, which means that our player character that we make right at the start cannot be overshadowed and easily take the key role in the story. I thought the story was fine overall, but I would argue that experiencing some famous moments from the books and films, but now with your own character, is far more memorable, with the first hour and a half in particular being a true love letter to anyone who ever dreamed of becoming a Hogwarts student. We start as a 5th year, which doesn't happen often, but this means that we can still experience the school for the first time and also learn spells and attend other classes, usually meant for more advanced students. It's all very well done, from the sorting ceremony to meeting housemates in your chosen common room to attending classes. Classes start with a small cutscene that eventually leads into gameplay that you learn a new spell, then there's immediately an exercise that puts it to good use. And after the instructions during flight class, you can immediately try the broom out yourself. Almost every class actually teaches you new things that you can then also use outside of the classroom. You do a match of Summoner's Court in the Charm class, and then also unlock a side quest where you can challenge other students. The plants and potions you learn to make are really handy during combat, and Beast class, my favorite, teaches you to take care of your own beast, which then opens up this whole rescuing and breeding part of Hogwarts Legacy, which sometimes feels like a game of its own. And I love the small social interactions, as of course there will be some students who don't like to follow the teacher's rules and try to get you in on the action, which makes these missions a bit more exciting. We already saw some important companions featured in trailers and other pre-launch material, but they also do a great job at giving less important students still a lot of personality. You will sometimes be partnering with them in class, and they can also show up in other non-school activities. It's all just very well connected, and I think it's cool to be like, hey, this guy I saw and could briefly talk to in my Defense Against the Dark Arts class now asked me to go on a treasure hunt for a side mission. It all helps to make the world feel more alive. I helped Zenobia Noak, who you might remember from the first gameplay showcase before launch, by finding her 6 gobstones in Hogwarts. I could keep them, but decided to give them back, and then later on I saw her play with them outside, thanking me for returning them. There are a ton of small things like this, and even enemies you encounter in the Highlands will have heard about things that happened in recent story missions and make snarky remarks about it. And yes, I can confirm that the open world is actually pretty big. You can already explore it early on, although it's smarter to wait till you unlock your broom so you can travel the great distance way faster. Like, overall, I'm surprised by how much this feels like a true open world RPG. There are small villages with shopkeepers where you can buy or sell, lockpick doors to get some loot, and take on quests from regular citizens students instead of students that also need help with their troubles. This sometimes as you go inside a dungeon like a cave, castle, or one of those magical tents that look very small from the outside but are actually really big. Expect enemies here, a boss fight at the end, and some nice loot as a reward. And there are a lot of these instanced areas, but they're all different enough thanks to a lot of unique environments and smart puzzles that are not repeated often. Like the side missions are surprisingly good. I totally recommend doing the companion quest with Poppy and some of your other classmates. They start as a main mission, but then the story continues in pretty long optional quest lines. There are a few broom races, one mission has you swim and dive in certain spots, explore a hidden herbology corridor, but my favorite side quest so far, and it kinda sucks to say this, but it's the exclusive quest on PlayStation. Without spoiling anything, it really feels as if Sony gave Avalanche a bigger budget to make that mission, because damn, that was an amazing 1-hour experience. One of my favorite side quests ever. Other side activities in the open world include Merlin Trials, where you have to solve a quick puzzle in the environment by using one of your spells, which they would tell you though if you don't have the necessary magic yet, which happens quite often early on, so that you cannot do the puzzle yet. There are also enemy camps you can infiltrate, locations where you have to find 3 traces of ancient magic. It's nothing too crazy, but I like these quick little optional things that can give some nice rewards as well. Like, I think it's totally worth it to stop at these locations when flying around. And these Scottish Highlands are, by the way, nothing out of the ordinary, although you're often reminded that you're still in the wizarding world thanks to living scarecrows and honking flowers. Just some small things, it's nothing compared to Hogwarts. Here you will find something happening around every corner thanks to all the living portraits asking for your attention, ghosts causing trouble, students trying their own sort of magic. I rarely stop in an open world game to just take it all in, but Hogwarts Legacy had me do this countless of times.
Stop a moment and listen to our song.
Like, I don't want to give too many examples away because it's fun to explore the castle yourself, but as said in the intro, this is one of the best open worlds I ever experienced. Mostly because of Hogwarts, although I like exploring the Forbidden Forest as well, and Hogsmeade is totally another highlight. You will often return to the shopping streets as certain items are only for sale in Hogsmeade, and then you will hear more adult witches and wizards discuss the latest wizarding world trends, which is a nice contrast from the students at school. And next to the useful shops, you totally want to pay a visit to some famous stores like Honeyduke's and Sanko's Joke Shop as well. They sell nothing of value, but have some really cool interactions. We, by the way, made a story spoiler-free video of exploring Hogsmeade early in the game that I will link to in the pinned comment for if you are curious. And of course, subscribe for way more Hogwarts Legacy videos if you haven't already. Now, what's also cool is that these streets will change depending on the season. As you complete main missions, the school year will advance, so it will suddenly start snowing and you will see Christmas decorations in Hogwarts, for example, completely transforming areas you've already visited before. New seasons also mean new classes. Like, it's really impressive how even near the end of the game they keep introducing new features and meaningful unlocks, with the 29 available spells being a major part of this. And because of their unique effect, they are also required for many of the game's puzzles, so you will also often see that main missions require you to learn a certain spell first before you can continue. But this also means that you're constantly learning new magic even if you just focus on the main quest, and this makes combat feel fresh as well. Although fighting in Hogwarts Legacy is already very unique to begin with, as you're constantly slinging spells at your enemies instead of having to stand close enough to hit them with a weapon. It requires a new way of thinking, as you can always hit every enemy on the battlefield, and the enemies you're fighting are mostly ranged as well. There's never a dull moment, as the cooldowns on your spells are short. You will always have something to dodge or parry, and can easily repeat certain combos, like freezing an enemy with glacius, to then follow up with your fire spells because they will deal more damage. And there are almost no tips for spell combinations in the game, so you are really forced to experiment yourself, and trust me, pulling off some powerful moves and getting the whole battlefield under your control is really satisfying. And it's a cool surprise that certain enemies have special weaknesses and interactions. Levitate a spider when it's digging to insta-kill it, or use Levioso to pull out the tongue of a dog bug, dealing a lot of extra damage. damage. There are many clever tactics like that, and it's really smart to exploit them in challenging encounters. You also got the dueling feats in the bottom right corner of the screen hinting at these combinations, although this system doesn't always work. I sometimes had the wrong enemy that wasn't even in the fight noted here, so I could not complete the challenge, or it had requirements for talents that I did not have unlocked, or spells that were not in my ability wheel. And you can unlock 3 extra so-called spell sets through the talent system, which also unlocks upgrades for spells and other passive bonuses. But switching between them during combat is still far from ideal. I mentioned this in my 2-hour hands-on as well, but still after 30 hours I sometimes have issues where you would like hold R2 and then use the D-pad, but sometimes press the D-pad button first, so then you pull up the full spell menu instead. It just can take you out of the combat really quickly. There's also just not enough room, because every spell has some sort of use in or outside of combat, so you will be switching them out way more often than you would like. I mentioned the talent system already. A lot of meaningful upgrades, it's pretty great, but apart from that, there's not a lot of character customization. Again, the cosmetic side is amazing, you can also change your hairstyle and other attributes later on in Hogsmeade if you like, but you're continuously finding this loot with only 2 stats and almost no differences between items of the same category. It opens up a bit later on, but that will be after you've probably already finished the main story, so you're just mindlessly selecting the highest level gear because that gives higher stats, but that's all the thought you can put into it. Now, I still think you can make cool playstyles, but it's just not really needed in the game. And I totally get it though, like this game has to appeal to a huge audience, also many that don't play a lot of games. So they don't want to make it go as deep as we see in other RPGs. Still though, there is a gear system in the game. You will engage with it every so often, but it just feels completely underutilized. I also ran into some performance issues. I only played in the 60 FPS performance mode on PS5 instead of the familiar 30 FPS mode. But there is even a balanced mode and a higher frame rate mode if your screen supports it. The loading screens were still there when exploring Hogwarts, but only when going outside, as they probably then have to load in the whole world instead of just an indoor area. I did not experience these loading screens anywhere else in the open world though. But yeah, as said before, I do fear for the PS4 and Xbox One version, because the load times will probably be way worse on those platforms. Sometimes NPCs would get stuck, but nothing that a reload could not fix. A more scary issue was loading a previous save though, and then being unable to do anything, or the menu would just straight up disappear. I was then forced to restart the game when this happened and pick another save. Luckily the game makes a ton of autosaves, but I do hope they fix this. This was with version 1.00.003 on PS5. Now, to be fair, a handful of issues in my 30-hour plus playthrough is not a lot for a massive game like this. Like, I want to end on a positive note, because Hogwarts Legacy is an enormous achievement, an experience that we as Harry Potter fans have been waiting for since the first book and movie arrived. They did not hold back in terms of lore and things that they included. Even with my issues, Avalanche Software exceeded my expectations and made, I think, one of the best open world games you can play today. I hope this is the start of a new Wizarding World gaming franchise. Like, I can only imagine where it goes from here. Now, we're just getting started with our spoiler-free coverage of Hogwarts Legacy, so totally subscribe for way more videos on the game. A like on the video would really help me out. We will of course do tips and tricks, but also streams, and if you want to watch that stream, you can watch it by clicking on the screen. If it's not up yet, you will see a countdown, and then you can like set a reminder to see when I'm live. I will speak to you soon. Can't wait for you to experience this, and goodbye.